There's something no man openly admits, yet we've all felt it at some point. That suspicion that a special woman might feel something more, even if she tries to hide it. Maybe you notice she looks at you differently, seeks your company for no clear reason, or acts in a confusing way that leaves you thinking about her for days. The doubt follows you. Is she in love or just being nice? And that uncertainty can be so strong it even shakes your confidence. Because if you can't read her signals, you might miss a real opportunity or mistake a simple friendship for something else. Many men go through that confusion. She smiles at you, but pulls away when you take a step forward. She texts you, then disappears for days. She seems to enjoy your presence, yet never says anything clear. That ambiguity is baffling, and what most men don't know is that behind those contradictions lies a very specific emotional logic. When a woman falls in love in secret, her mind and body become a battlefield between what she feels and what she's trying to control. In this video, I'll show you how to decipher that silent language, understand what's really going on inside her, and how to act with maturity so you can move forward without breaking the magic. If this is your first time here, my name is Celia. I'm a specialist in female psychology, and I help men understand women's attraction, behavior, and emotional processes from an ethical and conscious perspective. In this space, you'll find clarity, not tricks. I invite you to subscribe so we can keep learning together, because today you'll discover signs you've probably seen 1,000 times, but will finally understand. Stay until the end, because there I'll share a little-known truth about how to keep attraction alive once a connection starts to form. Let's begin. When a woman falls in love in silence, she doesn't express it with words, but with energy. Her behavior begins to change subtly, almost imperceptibly, as if her body were speaking for her. She won't admit it, not even to her friends, but you'll notice small gestures, a glance that lingers longer than usual, a smile that appears every time you look at her, or a change in her tone of voice when she talks to you. What the mind tries to hide, the body reveals without permission. And it's precisely in those details where you can see the feelings she herself doesn't dare to confess. Inside, a woman in love experiences a deep contradiction. Her rational side tries to stay in control, but her emotional side naturally begins to seek you out. She thinks about you before falling asleep, remembers your words, and is caught off guard when something ordinary reminds her of you. She doesn't always show it openly because being in love makes her vulnerable, and the fear of rejection or of losing her value in your eyes makes her act cautiously. But that caution is deceptive. When she avoids talking too much about her feelings or distracts herself with other topics, she's actually trying to protect something she already feels very deeply. As we've seen, her feelings don't show through direct declarations, but through a constant presence. When a woman is in love, she becomes more attentive, more perceptive. She observes your reactions, remembers what you like, and starts anticipating your needs, even if she does it subtly. If you mention that you like a certain kind of music, weeks later she might send you a similar song. If you say you had a rough day, she'll ask how you're feeling, not once, but twice. It's her way of caring without saying, "You matter to me." However, there's one key detail. A woman secretly in love avoids seeming too available. She might appear distant or emotionally reserved, but that distance is strategic. She needs to make sure you value her presence and that you're not playing with her emotions. That's why she alternates moments of closeness with times when she seems to disappear. She's not doing it to manipulate you, but to see whether you actually notice her absence. That back and forth is her way of calibrating what she feels and measuring how much she can trust you. Another unmistakable sign is the change in her body language when she sees you. She might try to hide it, but her pupils dilate, her breathing slows down, and her posture becomes softer and more open. When a woman is in love, her body aligns with her emotions. She tilts her head slightly while listening, fixes her hair, or plays with an accessory while you talk. She doesn't do it consciously. It's a biological response that happens when her brain associates your presence with pleasure and comfort. You'll also notice a shift in how she handles attention from other men. When she has feelings for you, she stops caring about outside admiration, even if she doesn't say it. She may still be sociable, but her flirtatious gestures fade, and her energy focuses mainly on you. Even if she tries to act indifferent, there's a subtle change. Every time you mention another woman, her expression hardens for just an instant. That micro-expression, so brief you'll only notice it if you're paying attention, is a silent confession. That said, this isn't about searching for proof or analyzing her like an experiment. The important thing is to understand that a woman secretly in love isn't playing games. She's protecting herself. She hides what she feels because she needs to be sure you won't hurt her, that your interest is genuine, and that you won't use her emotions as a tool. Once you understand that, your perspective changes. You stop trying to guess and start observing with empathy. And when that happens, she feels it too. So before looking for external signs, learn to tune into the energy she gives off. Most of the time, love isn't announced, it's sensed. And when you can recognize it without needing her to say it, you take the first step toward building the trust that will one day make her stop hiding how she feels. Now that we understand this inner foundation of love, let's see how her body ultimately reveals everything she tries to keep to herself. The female body has an eloquence that words can never match. When a woman falls in love, her body begins to communicate what her mind still doesn't dare to say. No matter how much she tries to hide it, attraction seeps through her smallest gestures. The way she crosses her legs, leans her body, holds your gaze, or plays with an accessory while you talk, all of it starts to follow a different rhythm. It's no coincidence. It's her unconscious way of getting closer without saying a single word. Eye contact is one of the most revealing signs. A woman who feels something for you will hold your gaze a second longer than usual. She's not trying to challenge you. It's simply hard for her to look away from what attracts her. If you notice that your eyes meet several times, even in group settings, and she looks down with a slight smile when you catch her watching you, you're witnessing a silent confession. The body can't lie when the heart is involved. During early conversations or encounters, her posture changes too. A woman secretly in love tends to orient her body toward you, even when the setting doesn't call for it. She may be talking to others, but her shoulders, knees, or torso will still point in your direction. That physical alignment signals genuine interest. It's like an invisible magnet pulling her toward you, even when she's trying to keep her composure. If you pay attention, you'll sense that subtle pull of closeness she can't fully control. So far, we've seen how the body reacts through visual and spatial cues, but there's more. Her hands and small gestures are also clear indicators. If, while you're talking, she touches her neck, adjusts her hair, or plays with her glass or the edge of a cup, her nervous system is expressing excitement and positive tension. It's her body's unconscious way of releasing emotional energy. Even a simple accidental touch can say a lot. If she doesn't pull away right away, but lets it linger just a moment longer than necessary, she's showing comfort and a desire to connect. Another detail that often goes unnoticed is her breathing. When she feels emotionally activated around you, her breathing becomes deeper and her chest moves more visibly. It's a physiological reaction triggered by dopamine and adrenaline, the same chemicals involved in attraction. She might not notice it, but you can sense it if you observe her calmly. The key is to do so without invading her space, with respect and empathy. Her face, too, reveals more than you might imagine. Dilated pupils, frequent smiles, slower blinking, and slightly flushed cheeks are all natural signs of interest. When she's with you, her expression softens, her eyes grow warmer, and her voice becomes gentler. She may laugh more than usual, not because everything you say is funny, but because she genuinely enjoys being in that moment with you. That light laughter is a release valve for the emotion she's trying to contain. However, it's important to distinguish between casual flirtation and body language charged with emotion. Flirtation can be fleeting or social, but when a woman is in love, her body doesn't act to impress, it acts to connect. She no longer seeks general attention, she seeks resonance with you. That's why her movements become less performative and more spontaneous. She looks at you without expecting a reaction, smiles without waiting for approval. What you're seeing isn't a show, it's an involuntary expression of what she feels. Understanding this body language allows you to interpret without pressuring, to approach without forcing. It's about learning to read the truth behind her gestures and responding with empathy, not calculation. When you realize that her signals aren't invitations but veiled confessions, you can respond with respect and balance. At that point, the dance of attraction stops being a mystery and becomes a natural rhythm, one where both of you start to move in sync without needing to speak. And when you recognize that subtle harmony, you understand that it's not about deciphering her, it's about feeling her. Because in truth, her body doesn't betray her, it protects her while revealing her at the same time. And that contradiction is the very essence of love that has not yet been declared. A woman who's secretly in love won't always tell you with words, but she'll inevitably find ways to get your attention. She'll do it so it doesn't seem intentional, disguising her interest with casual behavior. She might start showing up more often where you are, or find excuses to text you about things that didn't really need a message. She doesn't say, "I'm thinking of you," but every interaction is a quiet reminder that she's there, waiting for an emotional response from you. This is the stage where her rational mind tries to stay calm while her heart has already made a choice. At first, her attempts to get closer might seem like coincidences. Maybe she comments on one of your posts, asks for a favor she could have handled herself, or messages you about something trivial. But deep down, she's not trying to solve anything, she's trying to connect. She's testing the waters to see how you respond, watching whether you notice her presence. When she feels warmth from you, she repeats the pattern. When she senses distance, she pulls back. Her attention isn't inconsistent because of indecision, but because she's measuring how far she can go without exposing herself too much. We already know her body reveals what she feels, but as those emotions grow stronger, they turn into more concrete actions. A woman in love starts taking extra care of her appearance when she knows she'll see you. She doesn't do it to impress everyone, just you. She'll make small changes, her perfume, hairstyle, or outfit. What's interesting is that she doesn't want it to look obvious. She does it to feel more confident around you. If you pay attention, you'll notice her body language and overall attitude aligning toward one purpose, to please you without saying it. Another unmistakable sign is her sudden interest in your daily life. She asks how your day went, what you did over the weekend, or whether you've been resting enough. These aren't empty questions, they're ways to stay emotionally connected. She wants to understand your rhythm, your mood, and your world. Sometimes she'll even remember the smallest details from your conversations, things you mentioned in passing and already forgot. That level of attention can't be faked. Only someone emotionally involved remembers that much. But there's something deeper. A woman in love wants to move you emotionally. She wants to make you laugh, surprise you, or inspire you. That's why she often uses humor, irony, or light teasing to spark a reaction. If you laugh with her, she feels she's opened a door. If you stay indifferent, she might feel rejected, even if she never says it. In her inner world, every exchange becomes a sign of progress or setback. She's not playing games, she's trying to get closer without being hurt. Not all her ways of seeking attention are direct, though. Sometimes she'll mention you in conversations with others, or share topics she knows interest you. It's her way of keeping the connection alive, without depending on your initiative. Even when she seems distracted, her thoughts circle back to you. And if she notices you don't react, she might act distant or indifferent. But that distance is only a way to protect her pride. Behind that mask lies an unspoken hope she's not ready to admit. Understanding this dynamic gives you a huge emotional advantage. You can respond with empathy instead of confusion. When a woman subtly seeks your attention, what she truly wants is to feel seen, to know you notice her beyond the surface. She doesn't need flattery or promises, she needs your emotional presence, the kind of attention that demands nothing yet confirms everything. And here I want to invite you to do something important. Take a brief pause. If you're enjoying this content, subscribe to the channel, give it a like, and comment your name and country so I can see where this growing community is listening from. I read every comment, and it means a lot to know this work brings you clarity and support. You can also share your personal experience or a piece of advice from your own story. Every contribution adds value for the other men learning to understand female psychology from a conscious perspective. That said, let's get back to the topic. When a woman in love seeks your attention, she doesn't want to be exposed, she wants to be understood. Don't expect a direct confession because her way of communicating isn't explicit. It's subtle, emotional, and full of nuance. If you can sense that delicacy and respond with respect, you'll be creating the kind of connection that allows her to finally feel safe enough to show you what she truly feels. A woman in love doesn't always express it with romantic phrases. More often, it's the tone of her voice, the words she chooses, or the questions she repeats that give her away. A woman who secretly feels something for you will try to keep the conversation natural, but without realizing it, she'll let small clues slip through. Her tone changes when she speaks to you. It becomes warmer, slower, and she uses expressions reserved only for you. It's not something she rehearses. Her body and voice naturally adapt to the emotion she feels every time she talks to you. One of the first verbal signs is how often she says your name. It might seem minor, but repeating it allows her to feel closer. It's a way to savor the connection without making it obvious. She'll also tend to bring up past moments you've shared, even insignificant ones, as if she wants to keep an invisible thread alive between you. When she says, "Remember when?" it's not about nostalgia. It's about rekindling the emotional connection she felt at that moment. When a woman is secretly in love, she also becomes curious about your personal life. She doesn't just ask out of politeness, she genuinely wants to know you deeply. She'll ask about your goals, your values, your family, even your failures. She does this because she needs to understand who you are before opening up emotionally. It's her way of exploring the terrain without revealing her own vulnerability just yet. And if you pay close attention, you'll see that each question carries an emotion behind it, the desire to belong to your world. So far we've talked about tone and content, but there's another important detail: how she reacts when you mention other women. If you casually say that someone texted you or that you went out with a friend, you might notice a subtle shift in her voice or the speed of her response. She might joke about it, change the subject, or downplay it, but for an instant, her tone loses its softness. Those tiny shifts in her speech are impossible to fake. They're genuine emotional reflexes, signs of her need to keep you close. There's also a kind of communication that seems neutral, but carries a lot of meaning, the disguised compliment. She won't say, "I like you," but she'll say, "You look different today," "That shirt looks great on you," or "I like it when you talk like that." These are seemingly casual phrases, but behind them is a desire to express admiration without risking rejection. When a woman chooses to compliment you naturally, she's testing how receptive you are. If you accept it with humility and sincerity, you strengthen her sense of safety, and that draws her closer. Another powerful sign is when she starts sharing personal confidences. When a woman tells you something she doesn't share with others, she's opening an emotional door. She's not doing it just to vent. She does it because she sees you as a safe space. At that point, she stops seeing you as just an acquaintance and begins to recognize you as someone she can be her true self with. And that authenticity is often the prelude to love that's ready to be declared. Finally, there's something almost imperceptible but crucial. Her voice slows down when the conversation becomes intimate. It takes on a softer, gentler tone that appears when she feels she's getting too close to what she truly feels. It's a kind of language only you can hear if you're paying attention, a quiet melody that chooses you and no one else. Understanding these signals isn't a guessing game, it's an act of empathy. It's not about waiting for a literal confession, but about reading between the lines of what her emotions are trying to say. Because deep down, when a woman speaks to you differently, she's not just looking for conversation, she's looking for connection. And if you truly learn to listen, you'll realize that her voice, more than her words, is already telling you that you've become part of her emotional world. And precisely when words are no longer enough, what emerges are her most visible emotions: her jealousy, her vulnerability, and her instinct to protect what she feels. That's what I want to talk about next. A woman who's secretly in love may seem calm and confident on the outside, but inside, she's riding an emotional roller coaster. Her mind is torn between excitement and fear: excitement for what she feels when she's near you, and fear of not knowing if you feel the same. That contrast makes her especially sensitive, and that's when subtle jealousy begins to appear, the kind she won't even admit to herself. It's not possessive or dramatic jealousy, it's those small signs of discomfort whenever she senses another woman has your attention. Jealousy is, in truth, her unconscious way of measuring her importance in your life. If she sees you talking to someone else, complimenting another woman, or mentioning one too often, you'll notice a shift in her behavior. She might go quiet, become less expressive, or make a playful but pointed remark. She's not doing it to manipulate you. She's trying to manage her anxiety. Deep down, she's saying, "I don't want to lose what I don't even have yet." It's a confusing feeling. She has no right to claim you, but she can't help what she feels. So far, we've seen that her jealousy arises when she senses competition, but there's also a subtler form of vulnerability: her need for emotional validation. When a woman feels something for you, her mood starts to depend, even if she won't admit it, on how you respond to her. If you look at her with warmth, her day gets better. If you ignore her or act cold, she withdraws and becomes quieter. This isn't weakness. It's a sign that the emotional bond is already forming and that her mind is trying to protect it at all costs. In some cases, her vulnerability hides behind independence. She might say things like, "It doesn't bother me," or "I don't care," but her body language tells another story. She might cross her arms, avoid eye contact, or abruptly change the subject. What she's really doing is protecting her pride. Women who love in silence fear rejection more than loneliness, and they'd rather appear indifferent than let you see them hurt. If you can see beyond that defense, you'll discover a tenderness very few ever get to witness. That vulnerability also shows in the way she seeks your approval. Notice if she asks for your opinion about her appearance, her choices, or even personal matters. When she does, she's not looking for technical advice. She's seeking your gaze, your validation, your emotional presence. A simple, "I think you're doing great," can quiet all her insecurities. In those moments, your calmness and empathy have more power than any direct display of affection. When a woman in love fears losing you, she might also behave inconsistently, pulling away a little, taking longer to reply, or acting indifferent. It's not because she's stopped caring, it's because she's trying to regain control over herself. It's a defense mechanism that allows her to see whether you'll come closer without her having to make herself vulnerable again. If you misread it, you might think she's lost interest. If you understand it, you'll know it's simply a pause to protect her heart. It's essential not to judge that sensitivity. Jealousy and vulnerability aren't flaws, they're reflections of how much space you occupy in her emotional world, and the way you respond will determine whether she opens up or shuts down. If you react with patience and understanding, she'll feel safe enough to lower her guard. But if you answer with coldness or sarcasm, she'll take it as confirmation that her fears were right, and she'll walk away for good. So when you notice those small signs, the dimming of her gaze for just a second, the change in her tone without clear reason, the laugh that no longer sounds the same, don't confront her, accompany her. A woman who feels jealous or vulnerable doesn't need explanations, she needs reassurance. If you can give her that, you'll be building something far more valuable than attraction. You'll be building trust, the foundation that allows her to show you who she truly is. And precisely when that trust begins to grow, it's time to move forward with calm and maturity, without breaking the balance. That's where a conscious man makes all the difference. Let's now see how to take that next step with confidence and emotional intelligence. Once you recognize that she feels something for you, the next step is learning how to move forward without rushing it. The attraction between you might be obvious, but if you act out of impatience, you risk breaking the magic. The key lies in maintaining the right emotional rhythm, not too slow, not too fast. A woman who's secretly in love needs to feel safe before she opens up, and that sense of safety comes from a man who knows how to read the moment and act with calm confidence. The first thing to understand is that moving forward doesn't mean winning her over, but creating space for the connection to grow naturally. If you notice she enjoys your company, extend those moments. Don't try to make every conversation have a purpose. Let it be a genuine exchange. A date, for example, shouldn't feel like a negotiation. It should feel like a space where both of you can simply be yourselves. Don't pressure her with questions about her feelings. Let her show them through her behavior. Sometimes shared silence speaks far louder than a confession. We've already seen that jealousy and vulnerability are ways she protects what she feels. That's why, when you decide to take a step forward, do it with respect. You can invite her out, but keep the tone light and natural. Instead of saying, "I want to go out with you because I like you," you might say, "We could go to that place we talked about." The difference is in the energy. It's not a request, it's an invitation. And when she feels you're not asking for something but sharing something, she relaxes and begins to trust. The setting also matters. The place and atmosphere you choose communicate far more than you might think. A comfortable, distraction-free spot where you can talk easily creates the ideal mood. If she senses that you considered her comfort, she'll interpret it as a sign that you value her. You don't need grand gestures, small details. A good conversation, a cozy environment, a sense of calm are what build the emotional ground for the connection to grow stronger. Another way to move forward without breaking the magic is to maintain emotional stability. Don't test her, don't create jealousy or competition to measure her interest. Those games destroy trust and confuse attraction with manipulation. A woman in love doesn't need challenges, she needs clarity. If you carry yourself with calmness, purpose, and a fulfilling life, she'll naturally be drawn to you, because feminine love thrives where there's emotional stability. In conversation, avoid extremes. Don't stick only to shallow topics, but don't overwhelm her with deep confessions too soon. Real connection grows in the balance between lightness and sincerity. Mix humor with vulnerability. Share a story that humanizes you, something that shows you're authentic and not trying to appear perfect. That authenticity is deeply attractive because it builds empathy. She feels she can be herself around you. Also remember that a woman feels more attracted to what she senses than to what she hears. Don't tell her you're interested. Let her feel it in your actions. The consistency between your words and your behavior is the true language of mature attraction. Be attentive, but not pushy. Listen with presence, look at her calmly, and let her know you enjoy her company without needing to say it. That sense of ease doesn't cool the connection, it deepens it. Finally, understand that moving forward isn't about reaching a goal, it's about maintaining the connection. If you make her feel safe with you, her trust will open the door to something deeper. But if she senses hurry or neediness, her instinct for self-protection will activate. Moving forward without breaking the magic means respecting her pace, preserving emotional tension, and nurturing mutual curiosity. When you achieve that, a date stops being an experiment and becomes an experience. And precisely when that connection starts to solidify and the atmosphere turns more intimate, one of the most anticipated and delicate moments arrives, the first kiss. That instant determines whether attraction transforms into a real bond or fades away. Let's see how to create that moment with respect, balance, and genuine connection. The first kiss isn't just a physical act, it's the silent confirmation that emotional connection has become something tangible. If everything leading up to it was a series of glances, gestures, and unspoken feelings, the kiss marks the moment when both stop hiding what they already knew. But for that moment to be unforgettable and not awkward, there's something essential to understand. A kiss isn't chased, it's built. It happens naturally when emotional tension and trust reach the same level. A woman only surrenders to a kiss when both her mind and body feel safe. That's why, before thinking about taking that step, ask yourself if the atmosphere allows it. Wanting it isn't enough. The setting, the rhythm, and the energy between you both need to align. If you're in a quiet space, if the silence fills with gazes and words start to lose their power, that's usually the perfect moment. It's when you both feel connected without needing to speak. When you reach that point, don't rush. The key is gradual movement. Get closer slowly, close the distance little by little, and read her body language. If she maintains eye contact, if her breathing changes, if she doesn't pull away as you approach, those are clear signs she wants it as much as you do. You can brush her hand, touch her cheek, or move a strand of hair from her face. Those gentle gestures help her process what's happening. If she stays close, then the moment is right. We've already learned that mature attraction doesn't seek approval, it seeks connection. That's why a rushed or forced kiss breaks the magic. But a kiss that happens when both feel it's inevitable becomes a powerful emotional memory. It's not just physical pleasure, it's a message that says, "Here, I feel safe." And when a woman feels safe in that first kiss, her emotional trust grows, and with it, her desire to keep discovering you. After the kiss, the most important thing isn't what you say, but how you hold the energy it created. If you act anxious about what comes next, she'll feel pressure. If you remain calm, she'll relax and savor the moment. The serenity that follows the kiss has more impact than the kiss itself. That calmness communicates emotional mastery, and emotional mastery is one of the most irresistibly attractive traits to a woman. But the real challenge begins afterward. Keeping attraction and connection alive over time requires more than chemistry. It requires consistency. A woman may be drawn to your presence, but she falls in love with your stability. Maintain your routines, your boundaries, and your personal goals. Don't change who you are to please her, because what drew her in was your authenticity. If she sees that you remain the same confident, grounded man she met, attraction turns into admiration. And here lies the deepest element of a real bond: emotional consistency. Attraction can be intense, but without consistency, it fades. If you learn to communicate with respect, sustain emotional tension without falling into monotony, and share from a place of authenticity, she'll start to see you not just as a man who attracts her, but as one who inspires her. That's the difference between a passing story and a lasting connection. Ultimately, keeping attraction alive isn't about repeating what worked at the beginning, it's about evolving together. Give her space, but not distance. Show interest, but without dependency. Nurture desire through mutual admiration. When she feels that her freedom remains intact and your presence adds without overwhelming, the connection becomes unbreakable. In that way, the first kiss stops being an isolated moment and becomes the beginning of a story where both can grow, desire, and, above all, choose each other every day, with awareness, not need. And with this, we arrive at the most important point. Understanding that a real bond isn't built by trying to make someone fall in love, but by learning to sustain attraction and trust with maturity. That's what I want to share with you as we close this journey. The hardest part isn't figuring out if a woman is secretly in love with you, it's knowing what to do with that truth. Because when you uncover it, you're holding something more delicate than desire, the possibility to either build or break an emotional connection. Everything you've seen here, her gestures, her body, her voice, her silences, are fragments of a story she hasn't yet dared to tell. If you can understand them without judgment, if you learn to respond with calm instead of urgency, you'll become a man with a different kind of power, the power to make her feel safe. Love, when it's genuine, doesn't need pressure. It grows from respect, shared time, and consistency. When a woman feels she can trust you, that you're not just another man seeking validation or conquest, she lowers her guard and begins to reveal her true self. And at that point, it's no longer about signs or strategies, but about human connection. Keep your value, protect your energy, and remember that lasting attraction isn't about impressing, it's about staying. That's the difference between a fleeting encounter and a real bond. Thank you for staying with me until the end of this episode. If this content helped you better understand female psychology and reflect on how you connect with others, I invite you to subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and share your experience in the comments. I love reading them and learning where in the world you're joining from, because this community grows with every story you share. Thank you for your time, your attention, and for choosing to build relationships with awareness. See you in the next video.